quickest way to go from good to bad is to lose your job or be furloughed. And too many folks have experienced that with the COVID pandemic. It's a difficult time for a lot of people with companies closing, downsizing, and unemployment skyrocketing. It is time to talk about what you can do about this. If you've lost your job or been furloughed, or your income source is just plain cut off because, well, what you did just doesn't exist anymore. I have a person that I know who I call her the queen of hustle. She is a person whose job has disappeared, evaporated, might not come back. And if it does come back, who knows how long it'll be before what she did before was viable. And this person finds a way. She finds a way to keep her head above water. And there are some lessons to be learned from her. So shout out, Lauren. You know who you are. Anyway, let's talk about some of the lessons that the Queen of Hustle has shown us, and also my own experience. I went through a time where I was within a hair's breadth of homelessness and really didn't have any resources. The first thing to do is recognize what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. I realized in that time a strength I had was I knew how to paint a house. And that's what I leveraged into my first company. It was really taking stock of everything that I possibly could do. And when I formed that sort of list in my mind a long, long time ago, I didn't take into account even more basic things. Can I shop? Well, there are people who can't shop, and that might be something you could perform to get some cash flow happening and, keep your head above water. One of the things that I recognized, and you should as well, is no job is beneath you. In various points in my life, I've had a paper out as an adult. I've also been a cabbie in the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, which is certainly a very interesting time. No job is beneath you. And when it comes to, life getting back to some semblance of normal, and an employer asks you, well, what were you doing during that time where you didn't have your main job? You point to the fact you were getting out and hustling. One of the real takeaways that I think can be learned from folks that are really surviving well during a time of job loss is diversifying your efforts. Having a number of different sources of cash flow, a number of different things that you do. Now, I remember a time where, I just didn't have much in the way of going on. And I did about 5 different things in terms of income. And this was pre time where I was almost homeless. But really looking at a variety of sources of income. When I started as a nurse practitioner, there were just no full-time jobs available. So I had a collection of 4 different jobs before I settled into my 2 main things that I did. One of the important things to do, and it's part of that creative brainstorming that you can do, is figure out where there is a need and then fill it. Let's take an example. Let's say that you see a person struggling to put up Christmas lights. Can you offer to do that for money? How about washing windows? Yeah, it's a real pain. I hate doing that. And I personally would rather pay somebody to do that. If you see people working on something, also ask them if they're willing to pay you to help you. Looking for work of any kind gives you quick money. Can you sign on with a temporary agency? Yeah, I've done that too. that just unloaded boxes and, been uh, given all the crap work to do. If that's what it takes to survive, it's something to consider. One of the lost sort of things to really keep in mind, because it's important and it grows in importance because most people don't do it, is express gratitude for what you get. Thank people for giving you the opportunity to make some money. It may open doors for you, and it may be a way of networking for more work. Expect setbacks. Setbacks will happen. Look at them as a badge of honor. I remember at the time where I neared homelessness, I had almost 300 setbacks in terms of jobs I applied for, and they wouldn't hire me for. Embrace it as a badge of honor and own it. It's going to happen. Hand in hand with that, set time limits on disappointment. You are going to be disappointed, and that failure causes you to lose perspective. Anticipate that it will cause you to lose your perspective. I am naturally impatient and a bit driven. So when I can't see the progress, it really says, okay, I've got a blind spot and it's growing. Others may assume that setbacks are exclusively their fault, and you just miss other contributing factors to that. It keeps you from accurately assessing what really happened and what you need to do. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this? It really is a time for less emotion and more information. Objectively size up what happened. Was there an event or a decision that created a change in course or led to you not being hired? Be a researcher. Actually write down what worked and what didn't. Write down what factors created the setback. Did they not have enough funding to pay you? Was there not enough work? Was there not enough interest? Seeing facts on paper has a good way of taking the emotion out of it and can help crystallize those facts. As I said, setbacks and disappointment, they create self-doubt. And you have to manage your internal thoughts so you can stay focused on the future. What can you do next? Give yourself credit for doing what it takes to survive and trying something new. This crisis may be a path to change. Lack of experience and knowledge doesn't close the door, but it defines what you must learn. A lack of knowledge was a path that's to be followed. It's not a dead end. Learn and find out those who know what you don't. Things started to turn around for me when I began to understand about what was inside. It may sound a little silly, but it's true. Maybe it was all the time that I succumbed to losing myself in situations. I really understood that it really feels amazing to have control, even though you may be scared out of your mind about the future. I guess my frame of mind changed when I realized I had some control, and then trying to go for a positive result. It is how you deal with that struggle that's going to really form the foundation for characteristics about what you believe in yourself. And so this is a really challenging time. Now, this is about the halfway point because I have some practical information of, finances during this time. But if this has been a useful video for you, please give me a thumbs up. I am trying to spread the word of this particular platform, and you could help me out by doing that by sharing this video. Let's move on to some financial advice. And, aside from some history as an investment broker, which I've talked about, there are some real basics that you need to think about financially as you're heading into this crisis. First of all, Don't pay off your credit cards. Yeah, you heard me. Don't pay them off. For that matter, home equity lines of credit or student loans or any other debt. When you're in this kind of crisis, pay just the minimum amount. I know that it would feel great to have a zero balance on things. And, that's a point to work through under normal circumstances. Strangely, the safe thing is to keep your debt right where it is and take your cash and use it for here and now expenses and save it. Why? Cash is king, pure and simple. Would you rather have no debt and no cash and then you still have to pay rent and eat, or would you rather have some debt and cash to survive? That's why you shouldn't get overzealous about trying to pay off debt. Now, similarly, if you have an interest only loan, stop making the principal payments till things improve with your stability. There'll be a time when you can pay the principal down again. If you're paying down school debt, look at the rules of the loan. Now, the CARES Act automatically suspended payments for federally held student loans through the end of last year. And they may look at extending this with a new administration. That's something to really keep your ear to the ground on. If you have a private student loan and you need assistance, it's really critical you contact the holder of that note directly to learn about what are called forbearance options. Bottom line, hoard cash by making the minimum payments on your debt. Get a loan. The market is dropping. Layoffs are everywhere. Perfect time to get a loan. Let me explain this to you before you think I'm utterly crazy. How are you going to pay your electric bill and your health insurance payments if you lose your job and you don't have that cash runway or cushion? The answer is tapping into emergency funds. Unfortunately, most people don't have that. They are $400 away from disaster. And, I learned that it was not a good idea to live paycheck to paycheck. And setting aside money can be hard unless you make it automatic. But if you have a house and you don't have at least a year's worth of living expenses, try first getting a home equity line of credit. There are ones that shouldn't cost you anything where you can, have the cost of the new loan incorporate into it. If you don't own a home or qualify for this, look into other sources of credit. I still get what are called convenience checks. Whose convenience? It's certainly not mine, but they come from my credit card companies, and they give me really low long-term rates. You can play the game between credit cards and move it to any debt to no interest debt. Usually this will hold for anywhere from 90 to 120 days. At the end of that, you find another card with no interest payments for a period of time. If you qualify for public health benefits to cover health related expenses, do it. You may be able to get charity care from a hospital, but there are also community organizations that offer utility assistance, food assistance, legal assistance, job placement, transportation, childcare, and sometimes more. These programs generally have eligibility requirements, and to find out what they are and get some help, all you need to do is call 211, and that will tap you into information local to your community. Well, this has been GH Glade, and coming around the corner is a little different aspect of job search. It's when you have a job, but it's a bad fit and it feels like it's choking you to death. So stay tuned next week for a continuation of a look at jobs. Take care. This is GH Glade for Coaching ADD.